hot hatch market has been a phenomenon amongst the European car buyers, but not so much in the United States until 2013, when Ford decided to bring in this. This right here is a 2019 Ford Fiesta ST, and it happens to be the last year of the Fiesta in the United States. And in today's video, we're gonna go over why this is one of the greatest hot hatches ever built. My name is Evo, and you're watching Gaudin X. Now, to start this video off correctly, we got to take a deep dive through history. The original hot hatch was the Mark I Golf GTI. Of course, everybody knows that. But Ford has made some of the most legendary hot hatches known to man. We've had one of my personal favorites, the Escort Cosworth of the late 80s, the Sierra Cosworth. We had the Mondeo ST, which sure, you can say that wasn't really a hot hatch. Of course, they've made Focus RSs with the 5-cylinder, the newest one. It's just, they've had a great lineage of hot hatches, and it's unfortunate that they've gone ahead and killed these off for the US market, because they could have done so well. But now it's really just the Golf and its other small amount of competitors. Now we're going to start off by talking about the exterior on the Fiesta ST. And of course, you can say that it does look very similar to the Focus ST, which is not really a bad thing because they're both good looking cars. Of course, up here you have the very aggressive front grille, which is very Aston Martin like. Of course, you have the red ST badge. You have a little bit more of an aggressive front bumper as opposed to the regular Fiesta. Of course, looking down the side of it, it is obviously smaller than the Focus ST because it's the Fiesta. It's the smallest one that Ford had made at the time. This specific one does have aftermarket 1552 wheels. Originally, this thing does come with 17-inch wheels, but these have obviously been replaced. I do like these. These look really good. This specific color, the gray, does match very well with all the red ST accents all over the car. Of course, the badge, you have red brake calipers all around. Then, of course, in the interior, which we'll get to in a second, you have some red ST badging. But overall, it's a really, really good-looking car. It's not crazy aggressive, but it looks really good for a hot hatchback, and it looks just different enough than a regular Fiesta that you can tell it from everyday traffic. Now we're going to talk about what powers the Fiesta ST. Now, unlike the Focus, which has a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4, this Ford downsized a little bit. This is a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. This specific one makes 197 horsepower and 201 pound-feet of torque. And you may be thinking to yourself, 200 horsepower? That's it? My 4-cylinder Mustang makes 330. That's great, but this weighs significantly less than your 4-cylinder Mustang. The whole point of a hot hatch, you guys, is lightness, small amount of power, and just a great driving experience. And this thing does all of those things. It is made into a 6-speed transversely mounted transmission because, of course, pretty much every hot hatch, aside from like the Golf R and the Focus RS, they're all front-wheel drive. That's how they were back in the day. That's how they are now, which is great because it means you get good gas mileage and they're pretty fun to drive, like in these canyon roads, which you guys will see later on in the video. Now, we are sitting inside the interior of the 2019 Fiesta ST, and in my personal opinion, this is probably the biggest downside of the whole car, if we're being honest here, because you have a lot of plastics everywhere. Now, because it is an ST, it is the nicest Fiesta, but still, you have plastics all over the doors. You know, it's just very plasticky, very economical in here, and honestly, it's not the worst thing, because at the end of the day, you guys, this car new was about low 20s, so you know what you're buying. You're buying a really fun car to drive. Sure, you're not getting a very nice interior, but that wasn't the whole point of this car. The Fiesta has always been Ford's econo box sort of car. It's the cheapest car they sold, and you kind of see that with the interior. Now, of course, this one does have the upgraded Sync 3 system. You have the Sony sound system, which is nice. Apple CarPlay if you plug it in, but nothing crazy. I mean, nothing wild. You do have pretty much a lot of the standard Fiesta stuff. The climate control system, controls are all from the regular Fiesta. You do, of course, get this nicer carbon fiber ST shifter because it is the ST. And then, of course, the gauges do look a little bit more sporty with that whole ST, you know, red, white, and gray sort of color scheme that they have going on. The seats specifically are not like the Recaros that are in the Focus ST, but they are a little bit nicer than the regular seats. They do say ST on them, and they have the white stitching, so nothing crazy. But of course, at the end of the day, the hot hatch segment, you're not really buying this car for the interior. You're buying this car for the driving experience and for having a cheap car while it's still being a fun car to drive. So yeah, but honestly, the next best thing we have to do is let's take it out on the road so I can show you guys what the whole point of this car is. because it is the ST, it does have an upgraded exhaust system over the regular Fiesta, and it does sound pretty good. Let me let you guys listen to it. Okay, now setting off in the 2019 Fiesta ST, it's so easy to drive. It is super easy. I mean, anybody could get into this car and drive it. I genuinely believe that. Even if you don't know how to drive stick shift, this is the perfect car to learn on because the clutch is super light. I mean, the clutch and the shifter are so easy and they're so light to use. It literally just takes me like 1 or 2 fingers. I can literally just shift it like this. Like that's it. There's no, you know, this isn't a 700 horsepower Mustang where the clutch feels like it's like a crazy sport clutch or anything. None of that. So easy to drive, and the car is just, it's so inviting. I mean, it's a basic Fiesta at the end of the day. Sure, it's an ST, but it's nothing crazy. And then of course, because it's a Fiesta, it's cheap, which is a great entry point. This is a great little entry hot hatch. 197 horsepower for a lot of people may, you know, if you're used to more, you'd be like, oh, that's nothing. But it's a good amount of power for a car that weighs sub 3,500 pounds. I put it in sport mode, and by the way, to put it in sport mode, you just click the ESC off button once. You can click it off twice. If you hold it down, it'll turn everything off, but if you click it once, it puts it into sport mode. And then I'm in second right now, and then you just put your foot down. Oh yeah. And it's so responsive and so quick. I mean, the thing just gets up and goes. It's so happy to move. I mean, it's not hard to drive, and the car loves revving out. It's like the car is just this is what it's built for. Is these back roads right here. It is front wheel drive, so of course it is gonna be a little bit more responsive on the turns because you have the whole everything connected in the front. Now, unlike a rear wheel drive bias car, with this one, the one thing you do have to kind of watch out for is, of course, a lot of oversteer or understeer, excuse me, because you could take a corner, and if you're going too fast, the car will want to either go right or go left, depending on where the corner is. But it's super easy to drive. Oh yeah, no, it's so good. It is so good. God, Ford, why did you kill it? Why? Honestly, such a good car, man. It is such a good car. Now, of course, there are some downsides to it. The car rides pretty rough. It's not the best thing. You hear a lot of creaking in here because it's plastic. I mean, it's an econo box. It's an econo box with 200 horsepower. So, of course, you're going to hear a lot of creaks in here. You're going to hear some of that, you know, some of the plastic wriggling around and whatnot. But that's okay because you're paying like 15, 16 grand for this car. This car has 20,000 miles, and this specific one is going for about 18, which is a really good price for this. Considering these cars, they're never going to make them again in the States, and it's a great daily. I mean, this is like one of the perfect dailies. If you want a manual, you want a car that gets great gas mileage, but it's also super fun to drive when you get on it, this is the car. And one of the other great things about this thing, it's small. So this car fits everywhere. You can park in a tight parking spot. You can park it in, I don't know, you could parallel park it. I honestly haven't seen a lot of parallel parking anymore, but if you live in like New York or something, I guess, you could. But it's so good. It's so good. And guess what? I mean, 18 grand's a lot of money, but as opposed to 50,000 with your Focus RS, if somebody dings this car, it is what it is. Something to think about. Now, it is a darn shame that Ford killed the Fiesta and the Focus for the US market. Meanwhile, in Europe, they've also killed the Fiesta. You can't get them anymore. They've just killed the whole family off, but the Focus is still around, so that's good. But in the United States, you're only really limited to a few cars now. You have the Golf, the Hyundai Veloster, and a few others, but nothing crazy. This really was different because if you're looking for a high performance, really good handling, small, economical car, this was the thing because the Fiesta's smaller than the Focus, got better gas mileage, and in my opinion, looks better than the Focus, but that's, you know, subjective at that point. I truly do love this thing. And it sucks that Ford killed them. But if you've enjoyed this video, if you want to see more things like this, please check out the channel. Make sure you like this video. Let me know down below if you've owned one of these or if you've owned any other hot hatches. I'd love to hear it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.